Hello, hello, hello. We've come to the end of the Video Exchange Kickstarter adventure. Very, very cool what has happened. I was very surprised. $22,933 got raised by 165 backers or 165 people who ordered. Very, very cool. I'm very impressed by the number of people that were interested in the video exchange. I've gone through in previous updates all of the cool extra stuff that is coming along, and there'll be more updates in the future as we make it happen. But I wanted to kind of summarize kind of the results of this Kickstarter, what is happening and what has happened. So, I'm not going to dox anyone, obviously, but it's an amazing amount of money. It's not exactly what it looks like. Kickstarter's a bit funny in a way that I'll explain in a minute. So, I don't get all of that money, and there's some tricky postage things involved in there. That's 327% funded, which is, again, fantastic. You can see what a climb. Reached its funding goal in under a day, which was amazing. That funding goal, of course, was what I set to be the minimum amount I would be willing to do this project for. And so any amount over that is fantastic. And just, continue to grow all the way through. I mean, plateauing barely even in the middle. This normally happens. I've done maybe 4 or 5 Kickstarters so far, which if people are interested in me talking about the kind of process of how I make this happen, how I go from an idea to a Kickstarter to a product out in the world, I'd be more than happy to talk about that. These kind of results are pretty usual for me. The majority come from outside of Kickstarter, and then a little bit come from within, usually about a quarter. Again, you can see the majority of incoming cash direct, so that's stuff like email lists, things without Google tracking tags, sometimes Facebook links and stuff fall into this category as well. Facebook, always very successful for getting people headed this way. Emails, YouTube, great. These are some new things that I haven't had in previous campaigns. It's normally I normally don't get traffic from those locations. Very cool. Icon, Japanese language website covered me, and that has real tangible. That had a real tangible effect. Very cool. Some stuff from the LZX community, scan lines. Very, very cool. So, and of course, conversion rate. So people who've previously followed my project. I'm not sure if 17% is good or bad or whatever. A lot of people don't check their emails from Kickstarter, so I wouldn't be surprised if not many people came from that source. So this is what I was talking about with the kind of weirdness about Kickstarter. So 15% of that number you saw is actually postage, because Kickstarter puts your postage into the total amount raised, which I think is a little dodgy, but whatever. So, I don't see that money. I see that money in my bank account, but I don't see that money going towards the final amount. And then the other thing that they don't mention here is also Kickstarter charges me 5% of the total amount raised for putting it on their platform, a perfectly reasonable deal. And then credit card transaction fees that sit on top of that, which are very hard to predict. because I believe that they're around and under the 5% mark, but it depends on how people pay for their rewards. But something very interesting, I had a lot of the kind of things that you'd expect. So I'm from Australia, so you know, a bunch of people from Australia. And these top values, these top countries from UK upwards reflect the kind of audience that Kickstarter has in general. So not surprising. There's a big video scene in the States, so it's there, Canada, Germany. This Japan number, higher than normal. These are quite interesting. Italy, Spain, France, and Poland. China and Qatar. I think because my Kickstarters are in English, there is definitely some difficulty, and my networks are English-speaking networks, that it is quite difficult to get people who do not speak English or who maybe don't have as fluent in English to understand the technical things I am saying in English. So that's something I really want to try to work on in the future, is to work out how to do a better job of communicating the products that I'm making to non-English speaking people. If you are a person who is doing cool video stuff, I'm in talks with some cool people in South America about this for kind of filling in the Spanish language gap that I have. If you're in Japan and you're in the video scene, hit me up. Or if you're somewhere in a cool video scene, I would really love to talk to you, because I think that part of the reason that I struggle to get large numbers of people with products in their hands in these countries is because I don't speak their language. I don't have networks in those parts of the world. Not really. I mean, like, I know people, but not, you know, not people who are in the scene or stuff like that. But enough of that nonsense. I've got the numbers over here. I'm still tallying it all up, but it looks like so far the total number of circuit boards that are going to go out into the world for this are about the 212 mark. So that's very exciting. 212, that's 212 back panels, 212 front panels of various kinds. In terms of Eurorack kits, it's just over 25. Standalone kits, it's just over 27. Built Eurorack units, we're seeing 36, and I'm seeing the same number for standalone. These aren't the exact numbers. Again, Kickstarter's backend has some funny stuff about rewards and how they're broken down, so I need to sit down and really just like punch through it and make sure that it's all correct and the amounts are all fine for when I tally it all up and do my big orders. It'll probably end up being a few more for people who've selected those add-ons as extras. 17 t-shirts, pretty cool. Then for the VSIG tiles, over 50 of each, so you know there's going to be over 200 VSIG tiles going out, which I think is very cool. It's a very successful add-on. I haven't tallied up the number of Yowler PCBs that are going to go out as an add-on, but all that stuff will start to take shape as I put out the BACKER report and as people respond to that with maybe extras that they wanted, or you know, their kind of preferences there. I would be remiss, of course, if I did not thank a number of people who have backed to a higher level or backed in a way that they wanted a shout out, or have kind of like helped me along the way. So definitely, I just met this guy the other day. I'm so bad at this. Rick Luxon, I want to say Luxon, Rick Luxon, Dan Blades, Chris Johnson, and Justin Roman. Is that it? Yes. Yes. Particularly Chris Johnson, who is absolutely crazy and is the only person who selected the super deluxe, ridiculous backer thing where you get the custom color and the custom faceplate and all the kind of like wild extras. So that was great. I didn't know if anyone was going to go for that. So fantastic. So definitely those people who really helped, all the people who shared during the giveaway, all the people who kind of like got the word out there, I really loved. In fact, look, anyone who promoted it or anyone who talked about it online or shared it, I really appreciate. Obviously, Icon Japan, obviously I'm totally blanking. It's the video circuits group on Facebook, people in the LZX communities on Facebook, Scanlines, all those kind of places. Yeah, I'm just like totally blown away by this. Just as the numbers just kept climbing, I was constantly being like, nah, come on, like this is it. This is like got to be the saturation point. Like there cannot be more people interested in this thing. But it just kept going. And in fact, and I'm still getting messages, people being like, I just missed it. Can I get in on this one? So that's great. And the next kind of steps for me, for those who are interested at least, the next couple of steps for me are, of course, fixing up the design. I talked about there being dropped a remote. Talked about there being an expansion module. Where are you? Talked about there being an expansion module. Let's jump to the unaffected webcam. Yeah, there we go. So there's going to be a standard Eurorack pin header. It's the same kind that you'd use for power, but it's going to be incredibly clearly labelled to not plug it into power. Lots of crosses and danger signs and skulls and stuff. You'll just use a regular power header to join this module to the expander module in the Eurorack version, which gives you CV control. Still working on the design. I don't want to say exactly what it's going to have, because as soon as you say something, then it is like out in the world and people will send you emails saying, how come it hasn't got the thing you said it would have? And I would much rather deliver something cool that is like within the possibility of what can be delivered. Still on time, still on budget. The expander is going to cost extra money. It was never promised for free. I don't know if some people interpreted what I said as it coming for free. Always was going to be an additional order. It's going to be cheap, yes, of course, and if you combine it with your thing, you won't have to pay extra shipping, so it's going to be quite affordable regardless. So again, still in the works, still working out what that exactly is going to be, where exactly those CV controls are going to land. This faceplate, the faceplate you see in the video is a prototype, and you can tell that because it says CFOG Video Tool rather than Video Exchange. I was originally going to be called the Video Tool, but after talking with some people and like thinking about it actually for a second, I was like, wow, that's a really fucking awful name, isn't it? And it's going to be like impossible to Google search. So that's another hot tip. If you're making a product, don't make a product that just has a name that doesn't mean anything, or a name that is just, sorry, let me take that back. Don't make a product that has a name that is just a thing that's going to be impossible to Google. Like with the synth.bt, again, God, I'm dumb. if you type something.bt into Chrome, it thinks BT is an extension, like .com or .io, of course. So I'm glad I thought of that. So sim.bt is like almost impossible to search. So, you know, joke's on me. I love that kind of stuff. So next steps are fixing up the boards, doing the faceplate. I'll be talking about that as it goes along. Tallying up the actual like total amounts, making sure that that's all exact. Talking to all the companies I'm getting parts from. I've been looking at methods for producing. Our friend here, let's go soldering. So what is it? 60, 70, so 72 built units. Hey, might not sound like that much, but I've hand soldered more in the past and didn't love it. So I'm wondering if now my future might involve a little bit of hand dip soldering. So here's a good indicator of what that looks like. Because of course the boards are through hole, you can't just stick them in a reflow oven and heat them up and let it all stick. So the idea here is that you put the through hole components and using special tongs you dip them into liquid solder and then remove them, sealing and soldering all the bottoms. It's a relatively inexpensive process, so I'm looking into that at the moment. It's really my hope that that will just make it so easy to knock them out. You know, even just like in a weekend. I've done the calculations on time, and even with like a nice jig, like let's see, Ideal Tech or L-Tech. How about Ideal Tech? Ideal Tech. So Ideal Tech make these absolutely. Why don't you want the I? Ideal Tech make these beautiful PCB jigs. And there we go. Make these beautiful PCB jigs that let you attach your circuit boards, flip close the foam, flip them over, and solder them all at once. I've run the numbers on it, and I think even though there's going to be like more setup and more like weird kind of stuff involved in doing a dip soldering production line, I think it's still going to be a hell of a lot faster because this has turned into a technical talk. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 23 parts on each. Even with this Ideal Tech going through 23 times, 2 pins each on average, it's going to add up. So I'm really feeling this dip soldering thing. If you know about electronics and you are screaming at the video right now, don't do that, don't dip solder, and you have a great reason, tell me. Please tell me about it. Because I'm doing as much research as I can, but these kinds of things, they're industrial knowledge. If you know, you know. If you can pay someone to know, they'll know. Where's that button? Just webcam. I've got the this beautiful table behind me that is going to be doing more kind of testing. I'll be making videos about the video exchange and about other kind of stuff there. So that'll kind of be a test bench for trying out ideas. Is there anything else I really wanted to say? No, I'm hoping to get some better demographic breakdowns for the project because there's a bunch of stuff that I'd really love to know. So if you've got feedback for me on anything, absolutely love to know what it is. Specifically stuff like, if you're one of these people from countries that, I should jump over to here. If you're one of the people from countries that didn't get as many sales, I would love to know why. I'd love to know like what your feedback is on that. Was the price point wrong for you? Was shipping too high? Was my descriptions in English not able to be translated automatically, or in a way that made sense? Like what was it that, what were the extra steps that you had to do if you were, say, from France or from Qatar? Definitely hit me up. Were there any parts of the campaign that I didn't communicate well enough? What didn't I say? What did you have to like reread a few times to kind of get the hang of? Because I always want to get better. I always want to be like a better communicator and better at telling people what it is that Cat Full of Ghosts does and making cool tools and products for people. But a big part of that is communicating to them what it is, why they might want it, what it does, and making that whole kind of thing fit. I'm hoping also to get some gender breakdown demographics, which I've been given in the past by Kickstarter, but I cannot see here. Definitely looking at Kickstarter's global stats, there is a real imbalance between the number of male backers and female identifying backers. Of course, Kickstarter still has a binary in their surveys, so make of that divide what you will in the way that Kickstarter represents it. But I would love to see how my campaign is stacking up in terms of gender identification and communication, because definitely women and non-binary people are underrepresented in the technology space of Kickstarter, and I am always looking for like better ways to do that communication and better ways to kind of like talk to those people. It's not just about making money. Like maybe it sounds a bit disingenuous when I say I want to know how to sell stuff to, women and non-binary people more than I currently am. It's just got a lot to do with me wanting to better get the tools that I make to people doing cool stuff. And I find nothing kind of like more personally frustrating than not being able to like get my shit together and speak to people in a way that communicates like what it is and what I'm trying to do, and like reach them in a way that feels right. So I've just been rambling for a while now, but again, thank you. Really appreciate all the people who've backed this. It's really exciting to see what people are going to do with this. It's really exciting to see, the huge number of people who've contacted me already about it. People who came to this project from my YouTube videos, who, are like brand new to synthesis, brand new to video stuff. People who've been around forever, who I am, as deeply flattered as the brand new people to be like, hey, this thing looks cool, that didn't exist in the world. I would love one. So I'll stop boring you. We'll speak very soon. But again, those people I mentioned, thank you so much. Really means a lot to me. I'm going to be beavering away here in sunny Australia, making this stuff happen and getting it out to you. So hold tight. there'll be, pretty regular updates. I normally do a bunch of updates during the process, but Facebook, Instagram, those are places where you'll get the more granular day-to-day updates, whereas here on Kickstarter is where you'll get the more kind of larger updates of like, all the Eurorack kits have been shipped, or the design for the panel is finished. But again, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure and a total surprise to see just the number of excited people who've taken this up. So till next we speak, until next we meet, and I genuinely meant what I said before about contact me if you have feedback on the product, how I'm communicating, all that kind of stuff. Means a lot to me, and I'd love to hear from you. Till then.